this episode we will visit Nunavut, one of the 3 territories of Canada. As always, we are looking for a great subject to paint, and maybe this little fellow. I love to observe these cute little guys, but I want something bigger and more colorful. And maybe we can do this little red criminal. I know the farmers don't like him, but he is smart, fast and a survivor. And yes, show your teeth. Look at that. And I better take a nap because it doesn't smell like roses. So I think he will be a perfect model for our new show. And while we're going back to the studio, Mama is playing with the baby brother and we're gonna make a sketch of the head of the family, Pa the Red Fox.
Yes, have fun, and thank you for watching Painting the Islands. If you are brave enough, that is, but beware, I might put a spell on you.
Hello and welcome in my studio. Today we are in Nunavut, very high up north and very cold. To save some time, I already made a sketch of our little friend here, and as always we have a lot to do. So, at work. We're gonna create a cold, grey environment, and for that we mix extra ultramarine to the grey. We mix 3 different tones like a dark, a middle and a light grey. And we do that with titanium white. The winter light comes from the right side, so the back of our young fox will catch the light. And the tree as well. There's no tree at all, but it will be there, no worries. That means we have to create a dark background with the dark tone grey. On the right place, that is. We use the 1-inch brush and we push the paint into the canvas. Then afterwards we go over it again with a soft blending crisscross brushstrokes and no pressure at all. In the real world I would give a painting like this 3 or even 4 layers, but that might be a bit boring for you to watch. This painting is almost freehand. We're gonna create an atmospheric depth with different colors and an impression of a faraway mountain forest, and maybe on the left side a big snowy tree. And of course there's our young fox. He is focused probably on a prey who's crawling under the snow. As the fox has a sensor for magnetic radiation of the earth, he will discover where the prey, probably a mouse, is hiding. There is no escape for him, and for us it's a great moment to study the fox sitting as a statue in the snow. The fox is not the only animal who can sense the magnetism of the earth. Also sharks, bats, sea turtles and even dogs can find their way back to home or breeding grounds using their magnetic inbuilt compass. And I don't know if you ever have noticed, but even cows can stand in a meadow with their heads aimed to the magnetic north of the earth. Later in the show I will tell you more about this. In the meantime I kept working on the background using different shades of grey, and in the distance I used a bit of light ochre tones to create a faraway glow. Down below I painted more dark grey, and in the foreground we can use some phthalo blue layers to create a snowy front layer. Later we're gonna do more about it, but I need first a kind of basic layer. With the same phthalo blue we can create some upblowing mist around the fox. Not too thick, just keep it very atmospheric. Above in the screen you will see my color mixes, and if you ever want to know more about color mixing I'd be happy to help and advise. Just drop me a line. I promised you a big tree, so here it is. On the left side we can create this with a fan brush and a dark tone grey. The fan brush is always a cool instrument to make these kind of simple tree branches. And probably you have seen me doing this 1,000 times before, but I promise this one will be different. I like to do it wet in wet. And the wonderful thing of painting in oils is that the layers are melting into each other. And if you make a little mistake, it's very forgiving. You always can start all over again. And there's hardly any smell. And if you want to smell really nothing, you can even paint with water-based oils. So you just use the oil paint like watercolor, which works great. Okay, here it is. With a light phthalo blue tone, we're gonna decorate our little Christmas tree. We use a small round brush, and with a hand leaning on a stick, we start painting a bunch of snow on the branches. And what I really like is that the light snow color is melting into the soft gray tones of the underlayer. And this is how we create all kinds of different snow tones. We continue with painting the snow on and between the branches. In the dark parts, we can paint very tiny little branches with a darker tone. We can mix a bit of the darkest phthalo blue with some dark gray. And we're not gonna do the highlights yet. I think it will be a bit too muddy, so we better wait and be patient and let the paint dry for a few days. The lower we go, the less light will hit the tree, so the outside branches get more light, but down below we can paint more shadow tones. We just mix a bit of dark gray to the darkest snow mix, and this will work great for little hidden small roots or branches. If you take a good look how a tree is built, we must admit that this living creature is a nature's masterpiece. I planted a tiny little cedar tree in my garden years and years ago, and he was only 30 inches high. And now he is taller than me and growing up like a sturdy, healthy tree, standing straight up. And sometimes, when nobody is there and I'm all alone, I secretly do a bit of talking to him. I don't know if he can hear me, but it just feels good to talk to this tree so now and then. Am I crazy? Yeah, probably I am, or better said, pretty disturbed. But it feels good, so what the heck, he's my little pet. And we are almost there. And yes, I know, it's a lot of work to do a decent tree in the snow. Actually, I could fill a complete episode with painting only trees. But for now, we focus on this one. We paint one more big tree trunk heavy loaded with snow, and then we go for a few darker trunks underneath. With a small round brush and dark tones of snow, I said it before, we can paint freehand a number of little branches who will be sticking into the snow. It looks all a bit dull, I know, but later we're gonna put up more light on the trunks, I promise. And we are working wet in wet, and it's nice, but it can turn out a bit too muddy as we work in different layers, and that will be the moment to stop. And then let the paint dry for a few days and we can continue. But I know we are all impatient and we want to see results, so let me show you how to get the desired result with some light effects. We're gonna mix titanium white with a bit of cadmium yellow light. And then we can paint some light on the snow. Not everywhere, then we spoil the effect. We need some darker spaces too. And I must say the paint is behaving pretty good. It's still not too muddy, but I have the feeling that we have to leave it alone for a while and let's do a forest in the distance. With a stick we can draw a few lines to keep it all straight. Special for me, standing at the side of my canvas, it's nice to have a kind of anchor to hold on. With a small round brush we can paint some tree tops, as this is a faraway forest, so we keep it all soft light grey. With these different light grey tones we create a kind of perspective depth in this range of mountain trees. And those trees don't have to be very beautiful. It's all far away and misty, and that's exactly what we want. Trees on mountain slopes are suffering. They stand on poor soil. There's always a wind, maybe not enough water, but they are survivors. Let's fill in the right part, and now we can see how the light background works out so very well. Then, the snow color. With the snow color and a big filbert brush, we can fade out these trees into a kind of snowy mist. Finally, we're gonna start with the basic layer of our little friend here. Personally, I always start with the eyes. In this case, a middle ochre tone, a bit of burnt sienna as a shadow, and keep this in mind, a fox got cat's eyes. Yes, vertical iris, a bit strange for a family species of the dog, but he has it. Later we will come back in the eyes because this is the ground layer. The ears are dark, so we start with black and some burnt sienna. The inside of the ears is dark too, but it's loaded with light hairs, and for now we use a light grey for that. For the body we're gonna use more orange tones. If we mix dark yellow with alizarin crimson, we will get a nice basic orange. And then we can make lighter tones with titanium white. Now every human being sees orange colors different, so go for your own color feeling. If you think it's too orange or too less orange, you can add one of the yellow ochre tones to blush it down or cheer it up. You will see that I add burnt sienna too during the painting of the furs. Burnt sienna is a beautiful red-brown, what certainly will fit in very well in the total mix. And yes, I know it sounds complicated, but I told you before, if you need help with mixing, you are always welcome to come by. For his snout and cheeks, we can use a middle tone grey. The nose and the mouth need a very dark grey, almost black. And don't worry if it doesn't turn out as expected, because we will come back later for adding the details. And this is a basic layer, like I told you. And I will try to keep it simple and not doing the usual 4 or 5 layers, but it's always good to put up at least 1 or 2. Let it dry and then do the details like whiskers, light effects, and all what is necessary to make it a decent fur. For now, we have to pay attention where to put the dark and light parts. Important is that we watch our brush strokes, so no vertical or horizontal strokes, just go along with the body shapes, and this is very important. As the light comes from the right side, we need a stroke of light fur in the neck. And then we paint some darker tones into that fur. We keep the ear dark and do a few basic hairs into it. Later we will come back. Yes, the ears, they are huge. He can turn them 150 degrees and they are his personal radars. I will show you that later in the doku I made, and you will see that in a few moments. So yes, they are important for this guy. With the blender brush we can fade it all in. We use soft, gentle strokes, not too heavy. Time for a break. Sit back, take a drink and enjoy. Let's talk a bit about our model, the red fox. You will even find him in the stretched out wilderness of Nunavut, including Baffin Island, Southampton Island, and he has been even spotted as far as north as Resolute Bay. There are a great many different species, but personally I love the red fox with his brilliant colors, and that's why I choose him, of course. Another interesting fact is that this little guy can run very fast, up to 30 miles per hour or 50 kilometers per hour. He can jump over 6 feet high fences and he swims very good. So yes, we might say he's a great triathlon athlete champion. Outrunning him, forget it. Let's check out his tail. It's half his body length and it's a great help for his balance. And what nobody knows is that the forepaws or the front feet have 5 toes, while the hind feet or back feet have only 4, which is something special. So now you know how to spot fox tracks. The hearing is supersonic. He can hear a bird to a third of a mile away, and he can spot a mouse from a distance of 100 meters. And if you approach him, well, he can hear your watch ticking from 40 yards. So, yes, you are chanceless. And he is a true lover boy. He chooses his mate for life. So we might say he is a pretty serious type. No messing around with other girls in the neighborhood for him. And no, he is not a good pet. Don't even think about it. He is a wild animal and let's keep it that way. And no worries if you see a lonely runaway baby crying for his mother. These foxes are excellent parents and they will find him back. No worries. And unique is that the fox make use of the Earth's magnetic field. He does this for hunting and judge the distance and direction of his prey. And that is why you can see a fox diving into a meter-thick hump of snow and catch a mouse. And like I told you, the fox feels that the magnetic field of the Earth is interrupted by the mouse crawling under the snow. So the poor mouse is chanceless. And should we be afraid of a fox? Well, not really. If we don't bother him, well, they are known to be friendly, curious and playful amongst other foxes and animals. But sometimes they steal a chicken. Okay, he cannot go to the butcher and say, okay, I want 2 kilos of chicken. He has to do it all by himself. But foxes who live nearby golf courses steal a ball so now and then, and they love to play with it. But again, leave them alone and don't interfere. It's a highly intelligent and gifted creature, and we should respect that. And yes, I know we can look another few hours to these lovely puppies, but we still have to finish painting. So let's get back to our friend. Yes, watching young animals is more fun than anything else, but like I said, we have to finish painting. In the front of his chest we can paint light grey hairs as a background fur. More to the right we can add a darker grey. The whole front side needs that greyish backlight first, and a good thing is that we can repair the outlines in a proper way. Because we always will lose some lines of the drawing, and when the outlines are done we can work on the body ground layers. When he has enough grey on his neck, we can start bringing up the rest of the fur. With a small round brush and leaning your hand on the stick, we can paint the darker parts of the winter fur. I'm a bit careful with that, but no worries when it looks a bit rough. We can always blend it in later. When we move forward with the darker tones, we shoot these tones into the light fur at the front. And that might be a technique which you have to practice. What I always advise is buy a block of oil paper and start practicing. So what I mean is make a likewise setup or composition and try to do this technique of shooting in the dark paint into the light paint. Or the other way around, it doesn't matter. During the painting of the fox I do this all the time. I start like this case here. I start with light fur, then shoot the dark fur in and blend it. A beautiful centuries-old technique. The Dutch masters practiced these styles in clothing of furs and maybe carpets or other soft, hairy surfaces the same way. They stayed away from orange or sunsets as much as possible. In those medieval days, people in the big cities couldn't see a sunset. Most of the commoners never left their neighborhood or even their street. Houses were pretty high in the cities, so they had no clue about sunsets, except the rich who traveled outside the city walls and even traveled overseas. Later, more and more painters started traveling to Italy and France, and they discovered the beauty of nature's colors and sunsets, of course. We see that during the 16th and 1700s the paintings became more colorful. Even the early Egyptians were fond of orange and they used it a lot. They used the oripint mineral to make an orange pigment, and it was a popular trade in ancient Rome and even China. And when the Portuguese merchants brought orange trees to Europe from Asia, it was called saffron. And while we're doing the back of the fox, let me tell you a few more interesting facts. Some cultures regard orange as a sacred color because it balances red power and yellow's perfection. Monks and holy men in some Asian religions like Buddhism wear orange robes. Buddhists connect orange to the highest state of illumination. Orange is also the color of transformation in Confucianism. Orange is also a symbol of royalty. The royal family of the Netherlands used to hold the Principality of Color at the House of Orange, Nassau. So yes, it's still our national color. And I can tell you another 100 stories about orange and red pigments, but let's focus on our little friend here. After painting in the light pigments, we take a small filbert brush and let's bring in the darker tones. We have to pay attention where the dark parts are and blend it softly in. And we can add burnt sienna with a tiny bit of black for these dark tones. And then we have to paint his tail. His tail is almost the length of his body and very important for the fox. It keeps his balance, and in cold days it can be a warm blanket. And we're gonna paint it with dark tones like black and burnt sienna. And with a light ochre tone we can make it nice and fluffy. Later we're gonna add snow to it and maybe some mud, but first I like to make a decent foundation so we can improvise over the original. Let's do some more red into the tail. We can do this with burnt sienna. And then we make it fluffy again, and I use the so-called shooting technique. It makes the fur more natural, and like I said, we can always add more stuff into it later. We don't want to look our fox too much manicured. After all, it's a nature guy. With the blender brush we make it all nice and fluffy again. No pressure and clean it in between. Very important. And if you have painted with me before, you know what's gonna happen. We start all over again. It's time for a little break. Nunavut is the least densely populated major country subdivision in the world. The population is around 40,000 inhabitants, and as it has
8 times the size of the UK and 49 times the size of Holland, we might say there is a lot of space. However, there's a lot of water too. And let's talk about the weather. If you like beaches like this one on a sunny Sunday afternoon on a Dutch beach with, let's say, a nice number of people comfortably close together, you might be a bit disappointed. However, if you like more cooler weather, lonely beaches, then you came to the right place. If you wanna enjoy nature all by yourself, then Eureka, a weather station on Ellesmere Island, has the perfect beach for you. And the lowest average annual temperature of any other Canadian station. Minus 55 degrees, and above all, you can count on 60 days of snow guaranteed. Yes, you can enjoy this fantastic nature all by yourself. It won't be crowded. Now let's dive a bit into the history of this beautiful landscape. In the 11th century, the Thule people began migrating from Alaska into the Northwest Territories and Nunavut. And they were actually the ancestors of the modern Inuit. They used the Dorset harpoon and hunting technologies, but not the bow and arrow. And I can imagine that shooting a bow with hand gloves doesn't work.
Hey, this is not fun anymore. I don't like those harpoons. I think I'm gonna move, man.
In the year 1576, the English explorer Martin Frobisher led an expedition into the Northwest Passage. He thought he discovered gold, but it was a worthless substitute. He made a first contact with the Inuit, and later other explorers like Henry Hudson and William Bevan and Robert Bylot came to the region. But they came to one conclusion. It was too cold and it was too big.
Hey, what do you think? Shall we eat them?
Oh no, they stink and they are way too skinny.
Oh man, this is gross. What did you eat?
Oh, sorry. Yesterday I ate one of the soldiers, but his harness did not digest very well. Oh, my belly.
Oh well, come on. Let's dive into the sea and let's catch fish. That will heal your belly. It's minus 20 and good swimming water for a beer.
Oh yes, I'm with you. Oh, my belly. This is so embarrassing.
And I know there's way much more to show you in this great territory. And personally, I like the cold. And boy, I would like to travel a few weeks over there. But, you know it, we have to finish a painting. Yes, we're gonna do the so-called final touch. Little small hairs over the rough fur will make it all more realistic. And let's paint a bit more dark hair on the back where necessary, and then we're gonna fade it out with the bladder brush. And by now you might have noticed I spend a lot of time on my new hobby, animation. I like to tell you about history, but then in a funny way, not too serious and with a lot of the Dutch humor. And I know we can be a bit sharp with our humor, but don't take it too serious. I think it comes pretty close by the English humor. I always love to watch the old sitcoms of Benny Hill, Tommy Cooper, Are You Being Served, and lots of others. Later in the show, you will see a little Halloween adventure which I made specially for this show. It's only 3 minutes, but it was 3 weeks hard work, but a lot of fun to do. In the meantime, I'm blending the fur a bit more. So every time I have blended a part, bring in some new hairs, blend it again, and go on till we are happy with the result. Nice and fluffy.
Enough blending for now, and let's see what we can do with the head. He certainly needs more gray hairs in his ears, and we use a small round brush for that, a light gray, and let's see how we can come forward. Very thin lines, almost no pressure. Those hairs are an important protection for his ears, especially with cold winter storms. We lean the hand on the stick and paint more light in the front of the ears also. On the top of the skull we give him even more light hairs, and above the eyes too. The nose gets a little touch of light also, but I don't want to do too much as this part gets less light. I would call it shadow, but in this winter storm the light is just peeping through the trees on his back and that's it. However, we created a fantastic contrast with the blue-gray background and the warm colors of our fox. With a dark tone gray we can tip his lips, his nose, and not to forget his eyes, and then a bit of gray on the nose. Let's take a little break. Before we say goodbye, I would like to show you our Academy of Music and Art in Qualicum Beach. I teach there music and art, and my wife Els card making and scrapbooking. I would love to show you my paintings just to get some inspiration, and I understand that for a lot of you Qualicum Beach is not next door, but if you happen to be on Vancouver Island, just hop in for a chat and take a look around. And of course you are always welcome if you need some advice about materials, maybe color mixing, or whatever you want to know about art and music. My sweet wife Els is a magician with paper, and she shows a great selection of scrapbooking and paper art. And don't forget that we offer a wide range of courses in music, painting, scrapbooking and card making. Yes, there is a whole new world, a whole new creative world for you right at your fingertips. Our steady viewers might know by now that I love to support the North Island Wildlife Recovery Center in Arrington with my paintings. This place, founded by Sylvia and Robin Campbell, is a lovely retreat for wounded birds and other animals who need recovery and help. Also a lovely place for inspiration. So if you ever visit the island, take a look in the center and admire all the wonders of nature. Enjoy! Yeah, the Recovery Center is always a great place to relax and to get inspiration for new paintings. We have to do some blending in, and after that we can paint some more grey hairs in the neck. Then we have to paint some more light orange, also in the light side. A few little touches beneath the eyes and cheeks, and then we really need to let it dry and come back later for the whiskers, which is always a bit tricky. For now we can give him a few spots on the snout where the whiskers will start. Let's give our friend a light in the eyes. Just a tiny tip of light will do, and it brings the eye to life. Let's give his cheek first some dark gray, and over that we can paint some lighter hairs. Yes, we blend it in again, as always. In the neck we need more lighter hairs too, who are wiped up by maybe the wind. If animals take a rest or just sit down, they put their back into the wind. Maybe you noticed that. You can see it sometimes when a herd of cows are standing in the wind and rain, and they put their back into the wind direction. Yes, animals are survivors, and certainly our fox is one of them. In the wild, he make it a 5 years on the average. It depends if he can find the right food, not too many fights or accidents, but on the average he survives because he is a smart guy. and he can participate at the environment he lives in. Some foxes do really well in city parks or golf courses, but be honest, the fox belongs in the remote wilderness. Well, here in Canada he got all the space what he can wish for. Natural enemies of the red fox, there are a few like wolves, coyotes, jackals, eagles and eagle owls. They also can suffer from diseases, especially tapeworms, fleas and mites. The positive thing is that red foxes help balance the number of rodents. Since they also eat fruit and travel long distances, they also disperse their seeds and help new plants and new trees grow. In the meantime, I give the tail of the fox some snow. The wind is blowing around him and the snow goes on his tail hairs easily. We use the light phthalo blue color for that, and we keep it light, so add some more white to it. I want to give the eyes a bit more dark to give him some more character, and also a tip on the lips. And then the most tricky trick, all my students hate it, but we have to do it, the whiskers. And we have to do this in one time. Yes, one deadly move and there's no way back. And I said it before, practice this move. You start with almost no pressure and at the end of the stroke absolutely no pressure. You shoot the brush into the big nothing. And again, if you need help, come by and we will see what we can do for you. Let's paint a few more snowy branches on the tree. With the lightest snow tone, and that was phthalo blue with titanium white, we can put up some effects on the outstanding branches. We're gonna take one more little break, because especially for this episode, and we are now in the month of October, I made a little Halloween story. Enjoy. Welcome in the magical mystery Halloween tour cruise ship the Moken. We're gonna explore this ancient jungle because rumor has it that there might be some real ghosts around here. Well, first see, then believe. It's indeed spooky here. First we need a place to moor the boat, and let's see who or what is living here. Let's moor the boat here. Hey little fella, you sure look like a ghost.
Did I scare you? Tell me the truth. I want to know. Did I scare you?
Well, not really. Actually, you made me laugh.
See what I mean? That is my curse. The witch of the swamp cursed me because I was naughty. I called her ugly old witch, and that was a big mistake.
Listen, why don't we ask her to forgive you and give back your normal voice?
Did somebody call for me? Oh, pretty boy, what can I do for you?
Well, Majesty, please have pity with this little ghost and give him his voice back, please.
No way, that little creep insulted me. However, there is a solution. Marry me, my prince, and we will live happily ever after. Then I will give this little guy his voice back. Now do we have an agreement?
Hey, look, is that a good idea? I don't know. I mean.
Oh, do you have doubts? Shall I put a spell on you then? You choose.
Oh no, Majesty. I will marry you. Yes, I do.
My prince, we have an agreement. Hereby, the young ghost shall have his fearsome roar back. Oh, thank you, Majesty, thank you, my voice is back, my roar is back. Thank you, traveler. See you soon, bye-bye.
And wait here, my prince. I will fresh up for the wedding. Now, don't you go away, you hear?
Oh, no, no, Your Majesty, I stay put, I promise. Okay, she is gone. I'm out of here.
Oh, he did escape. Now, Betty, and I made myself 500 years younger, and all for nothing. I will put a curse on him.
Oops, I escaped just in time. But what happened to my voice? What happened?
I'll be back.
Yes, that was my little Halloween surprise for you, the poor little ghost who lost his giant roar. And I'm still studying animation. I do a lot of courses, but it goes better. Not perfect yet, but it's a start. The lower part of the snow is what we're gonna do now. We make it a bit muddy and play with light and dark. This will make it all more natural. And while we're busy, one more little story about the fox. I found it so special, I have to tell you this. When a fox gets desperate and he's not able to catch a prey, he drops dead on the ground. Not for real, of course, but he is acting. He's playing his dead scene, really. Then, usually, after some time, a crow comes by and picks him in the butt to see if he's really dead, but the fox doesn't react. Then, when the crow let go all caution, the fox comes to life, and that is the end of the crow or any other animal who walks into this mean trap. So yes, our little friend has a brain and he uses it. Already in the medieval times, people recognized the high intelligence of this wonderful creature. Check out the story of Reynard the Fox. Originally van den Vos Reynarde, a Dutch-Belgian epic poem written in the year 1257 by Willem die Madoc maakte, a difficult name. It's original from the Graafschap Vlaanderen and I highly recommend it. And yes, there is an English title, Reynard the Fox. Almost 900 years old, but I highly recommend it. Really, you will love it. It's not Christmas yet, but we let it snow. With the lightest snow tone, we put little snowflakes in the sky, and we use a small round brush for that. Really important is that we make them uneven of size. And the faraway snowflakes are even a bit more grayish. And that is how we create an amazing effect of perspective depth. And I know nobody of my students likes it, but yes, we have to do a few flakes in front of his body too. It can be painful, but we have to paint some flakes there, because otherwise it just doesn't look very realistic. I think we've done enough by now. It almost looks like a Christmas card. If you want to add some extra snow or other things, go ahead and have some fun. Enjoy!
Our little fox is sitting there in the snowstorm all by himself, looking to who knows what. We had a lot of fun. Check out our website for the latest news. Till next time, and keep on painting.